Mr. Ledbetter, parents, staff, students, and importantly, Year 12s of 2020. Welcome to this ceremony, which celebrates the graduation and farewell of the Year 12 cohort of 2020. The following information details mandatory safety requirements for this event today. Importantly, this event is operating in accordance with a COVID-safe event checklist, and we appreciate your adherence to the key public health principles. Physical distancing. All adults must maintain physical distancing of 1.5 metres. All attendees must remain in their allocated seats for the entire event, except for bathroom breaks. Photos must be taken from your allocated seat only. At the conclusion of the event, the college will conduct a staggered exit of attendees, and you will be required to leave the college grounds immediately. Our ushers will advise you when to exit, and please leave via your nearest exit point. We ask that you do not congregate on the college grounds, and please meet your son off campus. Hand sanitising stations and hand washing facilities are available throughout the event. We ask attendees to practice good personal and hand hygiene. This year has been a year like no other. We have endured lockdown, learning from home, modified sport, and disrupted assessment schedules. Through it all, I am astounded by the amazing spirit and camaraderie of our young men. Indeed, these young men from Year 12 have shown true grit, determination, and resilience. Please remain seated as we welcome the seniors of 2020. Please be upstanding for the national anthem. Please be seated. I now call upon Angus Lindsay to perform the acknowledgement to country.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Angus, and I am in Xavier House. I'm a proud Aboriginal person of the Bachelor people. I am a member of the oldest living race on Earth. The community of St. Lawrence's College acknowledges that this school stands on the sacred lands of the Turrbal and Yagara peoples. Even though there has been great change to this land over the many generations, the story and the spirit of the traditional owners will always be written in this landscape. In the spirit of reconciliation, we honour and respect the custodians past, present and emerging. We are grateful for the opportunity to join with them in continuing to nurture this land in the spirit of reconciliation. Let us remember we are one in the land, one in spirit, and one in the emerging spirit.
I would now ask our 2021 Vice Captains, Harry Holt and Ben McCarthy, to lead us in prayer.
We sign ourselves in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. May God's Spirit be at work within each of us. God, let our eyes be your eyes, sharing compassion, warmth, and love. Let our hands be your hands, bringing healing with their touch. Let our ears be your ears, listening where there is need. Let our words be your words, bringing comfort, joy, and peace.
Be our guide for each step that we might take. Be our strength for each load that we might bear. Be our power for each mountain that we might face. Be our safety for each river that we might impede. Be our peace for each place where I might rest. Be our joy for all that life brings. We give thanks for you, the young men of the graduating class of 2020, for sharing your Lauries Journey with us. We bless you on your forward journey, and may we all live Jesus in our hearts forever. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
I invite Lachlan Manning from Year 5 to deliver a vote of thanks to the Year 12 cohort. Please make him feel welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Ledbetter, staff and students. Today we congratulate and farewell the great role models and leaders we have in the St. Lawrence's College seniors of 2020. Completing 13 years of schooling is a huge achievement, and so many of our seniors have made a big contribution during their many years at SLC. As a new grade 5 student at Lauries, I have seen firsthand the valuable role seniors play. For example, they helped us new students navigate the school in our first weeks and months at the college. They also rode public transport with us early on to ensure that we arrived home safe and sound. I remember one day I had to catch a different bus, but I did not know where the correct stop for it was. Fortunately, one of our dedicated seniors decided to catch a bus with me, even though it wasn't his, all the way to Carindale Shopping Centre. This showed me one of Laurie's key characteristics, helping one another. Another occasion like this was when I moved house, and a neighbour of mine, Rory Shannon, caught the bus with me every morning, day in, day out. His family would even offer me lifts to school some days, which helped me adjust to life at Lauries. SLC is a community based on caring for and helping one another. I feel welcome when I come to this school. I feel respected when I walk into a classroom, and I always feel like excellence is just around the corner. And I believe these things because I see them and feel them in the actions of our seniors. All the house captains have put in work for the inter-house competitions, and the wellbeing prefects have made a big effort for the art projects that have been created. But everyone graduating today has shown great commitment to completing their studies so they can graduate and move on to the next exciting phase of their life. We commend you all for your achievements this year and the contribution you have made to Lauries. You have set a high bar for the emerging leaders, and I'm sure they will enjoy the challenge of meeting it next year. You've done an amazing job in 2020 and inspired me and many others. Congratulations on time at Lauries, and the college wishes you all the very best for your bright and exciting futures.
Can I now invite the heads of house along with the 2020 middle school leaders to present our Year 12s with a parting gift? Could the Year 12 cohort please stand while they accept these gifts? Please be seated, gentlemen. I now ask our 2021 school captain, Will Radcliffe, to address the college.
The bridge between you and the man you could be is called potential. For some, this bridge is a short length of cobblestone path. Others are met with an arduous span where the wooden rungs are few and far, and there are no supports to hold it up along the way. What matters, however, is not the state of the bridge, but whether you choose to cross it. You alone can make the conscious decision to be better and cross the gap. Good morning, staff, men, parents, and of course the graduating class 2020. My job here today is not to steal the light from these inspiring seniors, but I reflect on the impact that they've had on my personal journey, and I'd like to share a little bit of my story. I moved here from Sydney while I was still in primary school, so that I finished grade 6 over at Dutton Park. Can I say that was awful? I had no friends in a drastic foreign environment, where the only thing I looked forward to was coming home. Fortunately, however, I ended up at Lauries, and can I say, in hindsight, just how lucky I was to have chosen this place. Immediately, there was an overwhelming feeling of friendship. The theme of support was echoed thoroughly, and embedded in the culture was the notion of striving to be your best. It takes me back to Harry Kidd's graduation speech, which I hope many of you have the privilege of recalling. He resounded these ideas how the best version of yourself is something to be vehemently strive for. He gave a potent analogy that his Year 12s would be the lighthouse guiding the way for the voyage undertaken by those at the college, so to provide support and empower them. Clearly it stuck. Those words meant a lot to me, and I can say now that they had a lasting impact. I looked up to those seniors with such awe in my eyes, and all the seniors that followed. And as I'm sure is the same for you, I have been able to look up to the grade 12s this year especially. I think it goes without saying that each of them has modelled what it truly means to be a gentleman here at St. Lawrence's. And I know that personally, they have been my guiding light, and they have allowed me to become the best version of myself. Can't even imagine how difficult it was at times to uphold such a high standard on top of the new and foreign ATAR system, as well as the difficulties given to us by the pandemic. Boys, may I commend you on this display of courage. To be able to do your best in these trying times and these circumstances is a monumental show of character. And I'd further like to congratulate Liam, Tom and Geordie, along with all the student leaders in grade 12 for the way they represented and led the college in pressing times. As the 2020 class graduate, we are reminded that time here in the college is temporary. There will be a day when you no longer walk into these gates and you do not see your white and purple brothers each day, when you will look back and wonder how it all went so quick. To the seniors, I hope, above all, you are satisfied and content with your journey here. I hope you have made the most of it, and I trust that you will give back to the school in some capacity. And to all those sitting in ERPAC right now, I hope this serves less of a mode for pressure, but more as inspiration to seize the opportunities gifted to you. And still, I am brought back to the analogy of the bridge. You have the choice to make the most of the opportunities given to you. Even given that, I don't think you can truly reach the best version of yourself. I don't think the bridge ever ends. On the same token, however, to not even try would be such an injustice to yourself. So men, and especially for the graduating seniors, I challenge you. I challenge you to be a warden of courage, to make the decision, to cross the gap. Thank you.
Could you please join me in welcoming our current college captain, Liam Treno, who will be joined by the two vice captains to deliver his final address to the college.
Good morning, Mr. Ledbetter, staff, guests, students, and graduating seniors. 2020, the year we'd expected be like no other. We'd waited our entire Lauries Journey for it. Anticipation, excitement, and hope were all consuming as we were none the wiser of the unprecedented events that lay ahead. Due to the overwhelming success of the house system in 2019, we, as the 2020 seniors, pledged to further support and build upon this already established house system in its second year of fruition. Unforeseen circumstances, however, meant that leading the college proved quite difficult, with students learning at home at the conclusion of Term 1. The student leadership team, with the support of Dr. Herbert, and the sea of white shirts, embraced what it meant to be leaders of the college and accepted this unique challenge. We brought our college together in new and innovative ways, remained connected while isolated through various house challenges and messages of support to the younger boys, encouraged them to keep on top of their academics, and reached and reach out to their mates to check in. The senior group of 2020 truly demonstrated the notion that you don't have to wear the stripes to lead. The seniors of 2020. We are a cohort that has had to adapt, endure change, and adversity more than any other cohort who has come before us. Throughout 6 years of schooling, the message of serving others has become part of our Lauries DNA. Therefore, from the outset of this year, we were determined to not leave a legacy solely of our own endeavours, but rather to build upon the legacy of those who had made the journey before us. It is through this we are able to capture the essence of pride within ourselves and truly embrace every challenge that came our way, to finish our Lauries Journey shining and more resilient than ever. And thus, the journey of these men in white that sit before us today is not to be understated. As we move into the next chapter of our lives and leave this sacred place behind, we reflect upon the forever-lasting memories and the laughs we shared and the unforgettable times we spent together in this place. A place we've called our home for some 6 to 8 years. The place where we've seen our brothers grow from young boys into mature men. The place where together we experienced the highs and the lows, in the premierships won and in the heartbreaking losses. It is in this place we remain united in an unbreakable bond of brotherhood. The only thing separating us being the diversity of our gifts and talents that undoubtedly we have used to the betterment of this place. These fine lads in white have embraced the challenge of serving the Lauries community and have supported each other to not only let their own light shine, but also for each other. From me personally, I'd just like to thank you. Sincerely thank you for the opportunity to serve as your leader this year. A year we would have hoped to have been different, but a year of personal and community growth nonetheless. I want to thank you all for helping me to learn more about myself than I ever imagined was possible, and allowing me to get to know oh so many of you over the years. You gents mean so much to me, and I'd never want to go through my Lauries journey without any of you lads. If I was given the opportunity to go back and do it all again, I'd take it in a heartbeat. It would be naive of me to think that we got here without the support of oh so many people. We owe it to our teachers, who, since we walked through these hallowed gates, have been supporting and guiding us every step of the way. We owe it to our families, who are the backbone of our lives, and it's impossible to think where we would be today without the constant nurturing and care for us boys. And we owe it to the lads sitting either side of you, as we take it for granted, because we always know that our mate will be there when we're facing difficult times. All of these people have sacrificed so much in their lives to ensure that our journey was like no other. We are forever in your debt. The seniors of 2020, I'm so excited to watch you grow as gents into young men and reach impossible feats in the coming years. The sky's the limit. You'll be missed dearly, but rest assured, we will always be connected because of this place. We are Lauries forever. Thank you.
This stage of the ceremony is the handing over of school symbols from the current leadership team to the new leadership team. This symbolic gesture recognises a transition from old to new. I invite our college principal, Mr. Chris Ledbetter, to address the school community.
take the opportunity to welcome parents, caregivers, staff, students, and particularly the graduates of 2020. I always struggle to follow a very eloquent Year 5 boy, so well done, Lachlan. I think your speech is better written and probably better presented than mine, and Will, a very creative speech as well, so thank you, and we congratulate both boys again, please. And I especially thank Liam, Tom and Geordie for their leadership. And what I note about Liam's presentation, they're not flowery, but they're from the heart. So if we can congratulate our student leaders from 2020. I particularly congratulate the boys sitting in front of you who've overcome many hurdles to be here. I don't know all their stories intimately, but many of our staff do, and many have had an exceptionally bumpy ride and maybe one or two bumps recently. I congratulate them for sticking with it and being here today. In 4 weeks' time, these boys will be known as St. Lawrence's Old Boys, or Slobs. I wish we had a better title, but we don't. It is my hope that they come to understand that they've been educated in a certain way. It's the Catholic Edmund Rice way. And I'll start with my first story, which I think the boys may have heard before. It's from a Jesuit school, very exclusive Jesuit school in Sydney. And the young men from that school had come back after 30 years of graduating, and they had a big dinner, the best red wine, the best food, in a very plush Sydney restaurant. And the old priest, who was their rector, as it was called, or principal, was there. And each man who was there was asked to speak. And they went around, one would stand and say, look, I did commerce, I'm an investment banker. I own 5 houses on the North Shore, 1 in Byron Bay, and I am a multimillionaire. He sat down. The next gentleman stood and said, look, I went into private enterprise, into business. I'm highly successful, and I regularly ski in Aspen. The third gentleman stood up with a similar story, and it went around the table. Everyone cheered and continued to drink their red wine, and they asked the rector to speak. He got up and he said, I'm sorry we've failed you. The men were devastated. They didn't know what he was talking about. He said, I'm sorry, all you could speak about was personal wealth, prestige, and material success. None of you mentioned that you were good fathers or your family. None of you spoke about a contribution you have made to society. You all spoke about yourself. You all compared yourself to each other. None of you spoke of vulnerability, of relationship breakdown, maybe personal illness. None of you showed that vulnerability. And he said to those young men, well, they weren't young then, he said to those young men, we've failed you. So our education here at Lauries is, look, I hope they make lots of money and give it all to you. But it's unlikely. But we hope they are successful. We hope they have pathways. But I hope they've learnt about service, and by giving, you become a better person. So maybe in 30 years' time, if I'm still here, and when Dr. Herbert's principal of the college, when we meet, I hope they say, Chris, I have 4 young children, and I'm very proud of them, my wife and I. Chris, I donate some funds to support the needy. I was given a job that paid a lot of money, but I did what my passion, my heart told me to follow. Things are going well. So for me, that is our style of education. When the boys leave, my experience is those first 12 months, 2 years can be difficult. Now, they're difficult in a number of ways. One is they don't meet at 8:25, or in some cases 8:45 every morning. They don't have a structured day. Things aren't provided for them. So they need a little bit of self-direction and discipline. And what can happen is they lose connection. And we've discovered over the years that for the health, particularly the mental health of our young people, that connection is important. So I encourage our seniors just to reach out to those they haven't spoken to next year and perhaps say, are you okay? Would you like to come down to the football? Would you like to go to Dr. Young's place and do some music recitals? And dare I say it, would you like to come to Mass at Lauries? I've also reflected over the years on a number of old boys from a variety of schools I've worked at, and each of them has an inner voice. Sometimes we reject that inner voice. For me, being Catholic, I think that's God's voice. And I've rejected it over many years because sometimes it's difficult to do. Today, I will retell a story of an old boy listening to his inner voice and perhaps the struggles he had. I've told the boys this story, but I want the parents and caregivers to hear it. Barry Kirby was an old boy here who graduated in 1968. He came to us from St Joachim's in Year 5. He excelled in rugby and track and field and cadets. He had a great time in Year 12, fantastic time, and failed. His parents weren't rich enough to send him back to school, so he went out into a variety of jobs, eventually becoming a carpenter. His business went bankrupt in 1986 in Alice Springs, his building business. So he moved to New Guinea to build student accommodation. And New Guinea was where his father Frank had served during the war, and he was very fond of the New Guinean people. In 1990, I read from Ian MacDonald's book on Barry. In 1990, with the project ending and his life at a crossroad, Barry had a life-changing experience. He was hauling building materials back to the village at Menyama in his four-wheel drive along one of PNG's roughest tracks. And it was a very inhospitable environment. At about midnight, he found a dying woman on the side of the road using his headlights. Cast out from her tribe and abandoned by her people because of chronic diarrhoea and probably HIV/AIDS, she was left to die. Despite his best efforts, he took her to hospital, visited the next day, she passed away. Barry had regularly witnessed this grief from Papua New Guinea's understaffed and failing health network. That night, he decided to become a doctor and make a difference. If you go to the Griffith Uni promotional videos, he's there, because Barry went to Griffith. He did pre-med and then eventually concluded his studies in New Guinea, graduating in 2002 at the age of 52. He then went on to study obstetrics and gynecology and graduated in 2010, following a brief stint at the Redlands Hospital. He returned to New Guinea and he now runs life-saving treatments for pregnant women. And Barry says, if you listen to his video, that he's done that to protect vulnerable women. And in the New Guinea Highlands, pregnant vulnerable women are very much in risk of dying in childbirth. Barry listened to that inner voice, even though it took some time. Boys, please don't take the message that it's okay to fail Year 12 from that speech, but for Barry, I think there's a message there. I moved to a second story of an old boy. Scott Sullivan. Scott began at Lauries in 1985 and he came from St Brendan's, Maruka. He was a prefect in 1989 and very much like Liam, he was a prefect who didn't lead with authority but through influence. He was a quiet and he was a gentle young man. He played rugby at Sunnybank and in London after school. He completed a UQ business degree and graduated as an equity analyst in 1992. I actually don't know what that means, but I think it's good. In 1998, while in Canada, he met his wife Sarah, also a Brisbane girl. And in 2005, he was appointed to Suncorp as the Executive Manager of Market Risk. Again, I don't know what it means, but I think it paid well. He had a successful, happy home life, a successful career, and everything was going well. In 2010, where he had 2 children, one 5 and one 2, he was diagnosed with motor neurone disease at 38. There is no cure, and he was given a prognosis of 2 to 3 years to live. To raise awareness, funds for research, he founded M&D and Me Foundation, the M&D and Me Foundation. 2 of the 3 original board members were from his graduating class and they were his best mates. That's important for me. This led to the Queensland M&D Centre being founded at Coorparoo. And I'll quote from Chanel Hosisius, who has done a version of Inspirations for us following Ian McDonald's books. Scott worked relentlessly around the clock for the foundation whilst dealing with his own fate and his failing body. The St Lawrence's College seniors have attended the annual Scott Sullivan MND and Me Gala for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this year. The seniors volunteering, selling raffle tickets and performing a roaring rendition of the Lauries war cry and school song. Enthusiastically joined by Scott and many of the Lauries old boys who were regular attendees. In 2014, Scott fell at home and died of head injuries. Last term, we inducted him into our Hall of Fame. Sarah was there with the kids. She was there with the parents of Scott. Through his selflessness, he taught us to be better people and to embrace life and the people around him. Last night at the Seniors Award evening, we celebrated success. Indeed, we informed one boy of a $24,000 scholarship he'd won. We'd informed another boy of some assistance he would get to go to university. It was humbling. But for the boys, the most important award is the Facere Docere, which is to do and to teach in Latin. That's our motto. That's voted for by peers. And that award goes to the young man who exemplifies those stories that I've told of Scott and Barry. And I was delighted that this year it went to Ollie O'Callaghan. Could you congratulate Ollie? I rarely single out students, but Ollie had some disappointment when not elected senior leader position. But one of the boys told me, "Sir, He's been to every first game since he came at the start of primary. He's been to every game. Ollie was always the last to leave cleaning up. And I think that exemplifies what we're on about. It was not about Ollie. It was about how he could contribute. I wonder what Ollie's inner voice is saying. And I wonder what the inner voice of the 251 young men in front of me is saying. Sit with it. Have the courage to listen. And perhaps have the courage to eventually chase your dream. Some boys will chase it next term. They'll be at university or at work. And other boys, it may come later. Sit with it, reflect. To the seniors of 2020, you follow in the footsteps of many great men. And I would say many great women as well. Follow your inner voice and continue to stay connected with each other over the coming years. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I now ask the community to please stand for the college song. Please be seated. In line with the Year 12's theme and chosen song, we would like to conclude this ceremony by uniting the college through acknowledging excellence in spirit and celebrating in song together. I now invite the senior class to stand to sing their chosen song for the year, 10,000 Reasons.
Worship His holy name.
Please be seated, gentlemen. Before we move to our next proceedings, can I take this opportunity to thank students, staff and parents for being with us here today and for their support throughout 2020. The final stage of the graduation ceremony is the Spirit Handover and the Guard of Honour. These two events have been a tradition for many years, with the Year 12 cohort handing the legacy of Lauries' pride to the Year 11 group. Unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, this cannot occur in its traditional format. However, through the hard work of the compliance and events team, including Miss Tara Southwood, Mr. Stuart Williams and Mr. Will Pike, we have managed to be able to conduct a modified version, which we hope can be a similar experience for our young men. Very soon, the Year 11s will move from ERPAC and both groups will conduct the Spirit Handover in the quad in front of you. After the Spirit Handover has been conducted, the Year 11s will move up to the balcony here and primary students will line the Guard of Honour as a symbol of the transition from Lauries boy to Lauries gentleman. Each Year 12 group will then move through the Guard of Honour and gather outside ERPAC. They will then process through ERPAC and be farewelled by the rest of the school. They will be dismissed from ERPAC and will need to meet you off campus as part of our COVID-safe plan. After the Year 12s have left the quad, could I ask that you stay seated? You will then be asked to leave row by row in a staggered exit as directed by Mr. John Butterworth, Deputy Principal. I remind you that as part of our COVID-safe plan that you must exit the college grounds immediately via the nearest exit and meet your son off campus. Could I now ask the Year 11 cohort to leave ERPAC to their waiting area outside the ITAD building, and could I ask the Year 12 cohort to stack their chairs and move to the chapel forecourt? Boys, can you help me move these?
Well, parents, thank you for coming this morning. The time has actually come to hopefully say goodbye. We'll see you in 4 weeks at Essen Arena. I'm sure there'll be another ticket. We're going to do this levelly. Sorry.